Hello guys and welcome back to Planet 40K, the Tyranids channel, and today we'll be doing my personal top 5 units from the current Tyranids index. Now I'm filming this on the 20th of June. Everything may change once the mission pack actually does get released, but at this very moment in time, this is my top 5 units. Now if you guys disagree, or you do agree in fact, let me know down in the comments below your top 5 and why, and we'll see how they compare. But let's get into number 5. So number 5, I've gone with Old One Eye. Now in fact we did the full review only recently, so if you've missed that video you can check out the whole review, and he's really cheap now. He's 140 points now for effectively a Carnifex epic hero, Carnifex character, and the fact that he's going to be going in and running 2 completely other Carnifex models, other monsters, getting them to reroll their hit rolls. And obviously you're going to be kitting out those Carnifexes any way you see fit, because they're literally DIY, do-it-yourself Carnifex models. Whatever you want, you can customize them as you please. Now Old One Eye is also going to be generating D3 lost wounds, not only in your command phase, but your opponent's command phase as well, which I really like. And he's got pretty decent melee overall. I mean, he's got 6 attacks at strength 14, or you go with 12 attacks at strength 6. So yeah, there's a lot of flexibility with that weapon, and also, you're going to combine that with the hyper-adaptation ability from the detachment ability from the Invasion Hive fleet. So yeah, once you combine all that stuff and then add the Carnifexes in, I think it's a pretty good combination. But yeah, Old One Eye is number 5. As for number 4, I'm sticking with the monsters here, and I'm going with the Tyrannofex. Now some of you guys weren't that keen on Tyrannofex in 9th edition. I liked it in 9th edition and I like it even more now. The weapons have been bolstered up even better than they were. I mean, forget the weapons for a moment. Super armor save, 16 wounds. He's moving 9 inches. Toughness 12. Did I say that? I might not have said that. Yeah, toughness 12. But yeah, it's all about the weaponry here. The acid spray I think is the one that I quite like. D6 plus 6 attacks that automatically hit. Marine vaporizers basically. Strength 6 minus 2 AP and 2 damage. Yeah, that one's really nice. And remember, Overwatch as well with the Fire Overwatch stratagem. 1 command point, bang. Automatically hit in before you even get charged. Love it. The Flesh Borer Hive has now got the heavy keyword, so you can get a +1 to the hit roll, staying stationary. The sustained hits ability, bearing in mind this has got 20 shots, so maybe 3 or 4 of those shots are going to be a critical hit, a natural critical hit. And also you've got the twin linked ability, so you're re-rolling all the wound rolls. A fantastic anti-infantry weapon. I mean, it's got no AP and 1 damage, but sometimes going up against those kind of units, that's all you really need. The Rapture Cannon, or the Rupture Cannon rather, it's also heavy, so you can get a +1 to the hit roll of that. 2 shots, strength 18, minus 4 AP, and 2d6 damage a shot. Now I know it's only 2 shots, you've got CP rerolls, you've got other ways of buffing this guy to make sure that he hits, but once he does and he gets through armor, bang. Strength 18, that's quite rare in the game, even though the toughness of things have gone up. Again, when I relate to my Necron Monolith, that is toughness 14, so even it wounds that on a 3+. So yeah, devastating abilities, well, devastating weaponry rather, with the Rupture Cannon. And then of course, Stinger Salvos on top of that, and the powerful limbs just to benefit even more. And then he's got the -1 to damage with the Resilient Organism. Yeah, this guy's an absolute tank. Number 3, this one was tricky. I and ahed about whether this one was going to be in the list, but not only is he in the list, or not only are they in the list, but they're actually bumped up to my number 3. So I've had a bit of a tug of war in my brain about this one, but it's the Zoanthropes, as well as the Neurothrope, I guess. That's part of the unit now. They've got Shadow in the Warp, they've got the Synapse keyword, which is very important to spread that Synapse across the battlefield, to be getting control of your battle shock so you don't fail it. You're giving out the 6+ invulnerable saves, not always the best thing, not always the, it's not the greatest thing, but if you've got loads of gaunts running about, a 6+ invuln isn't that bad. You can regenerate lost wounds and give out battle shock tests as well, in fact that's quite a good point. We should talk about that even more. Any enemy unit within 6 inches, whenever they fail battle shock, they simply suffer D3 mortal wounds. Now bearing in mind that Shadow in the Warp ability to force battle shock, this could be timed perfectly. But the main reason I like these guys is their Warp Blast abilities. Well, the Warp Blast weapons, I keep saying abilities. The Warp Blast weapons, they've got 2 different profiles when firing these. You've got, well, both of them at 24-inch range. You're either getting D3 shots or 1 shot, depending on which one you go for. But the D3 is strength 7 minus 2 AP and D3 damage. I think that's a lot. I mean, if you've got 6 of these and you've got D3, let's say an average of 2 of them, that's going to be 12 shots hitting on 3s. That's a fair amount of damage overall. But if you go for the focused Witchfire, which is the more stronger weapon of the two profiles, it's got the lethal hits ability first of all. But it's only one shot each, but it is strength 12 minus 3 AP, and the damage is D6 plus 1. So you've got a bit of anti-tank there as well. If you wanted it, even I suppose anti, elite infantry, maybe even Terminators, things like that, you can get rid of them that way. And the minus 3 AP is just a nice bonus too. But when you combine all these abilities, synapse, and the actual weapon profiles, I think they make a pretty good unit. Number 2, I'm sticking with the Carnifexes. I know they got a mention in number 5 with the old one eye. But we can't go through this video without talking about Carnifexes, the DIY monster models of our Tyranids faction. The fact that you can customize these things in any way you pretty much see fit. From the list that you got the Death Spitters, Devourers, Heavy Venom Cannons, Spine Fist, Strangleform Cannons. You then got all sorts of different melee weapons. The Crushing Claws. You got the extra attacks from the Scything Talons. You got the standard Scything Talons. The Zenith Claws and Teeth. There's just loads of melee attacks. You can get all the different range capabilities from the weapons. It's just brilliant what you can do with these things. If you want a range Carnifex, you've got it. If you want a melee Carnifex, you've got it. And of course, old one eye on top of that to reroll the hit rolls. Love it. Now the Blistering Assault ability I also really like. All you've got to do is lose one single wound from your unit, and you can do basically a movement from your opponent's shooting phase, and it's going to be D6 plus 2 inches, and you can even get yourself into engagement range, which I think is crazy good. Your opponent just shooting you, and then you roll, say, I don't know, 5, and you go 7 inches towards your opponent, get them into engagement range. Now all of a sudden they've got to fight, and they didn't actually charge in that phase, so therefore they're not even fighting first. Your Carnifexes are slapping them up in their own turn, and they're going to consolidate if you wipe the unit. Love it. Now before getting into my number 1 pick of the video, I've got 2 honourable mentions for you today. Again, this one was another one where I wasn't sure what to put in here. I've got 2 for you, but I can probably give you another 5. But the first one is the Barb Gaunts. Now the Barb Gaunts, when they were previewed, not many people were that impressed. But I quite like the ability. I really like it. I mean, the weaponry itself isn't that great. Strength 5, no AP, 1 damage. Who cares, right? But you've only got to get hit. You don't have to wound. You don't have to cause any damage. You've just got to get a single hit from, a 5-man unit with D6 attacks or D6 shots per model. You're definitely going to get one, right? And if you do get a hit roll on an infantry model or an infantry unit, then they effectively -2 from their movement or advance roll, and then also -2 from their charge roll, which is going to be mega effective. That's going to combine to -4 once they've done the movement and the charge, if you know what I mean. I mean, what have we got there? You've got Terminators, you've got Bloodletters, you've got Lich Guard, you've got Witches from the Drukhari Index, Assault Intercessors, Howling Banshees. There's just loads and loads of melee infantry units within the game. Now, some of them will be in vehicles, in transport, so that this unit won't be as effective against those. And against some factions, in fact, such as Tau, they won't be that effective. But for 50 points for a unit of 5 of them, they're still an infantry model. They can still do stuff. They can still hold objectives. They've still got objective control 1. And if there's anything to do from the secondary objectives, they can also do them too. But I like the fact that you're slowing your opponent down. Bearing in mind that terrain doesn't work the same as it did in 9th edition. There isn't no dense terrain where or that kind of terrain where you're -2 from your movement and stuff like that. So therefore, any way to slow your opponent down I think is pretty good. So this is one of my honourable mentions. Now the second one is the Gene Stealers. I had to get them in somewhere in this video, but they couldn't warrant getting into my top 5. But I quite like the Scout 8 ability. The fact that they can move pre-game wherever you pretty much want. They're also going to be re-rolling wound rolls of a 1. And if you're on an objective, they can re-roll all the wound rolls. They've got quite a lot of attacks as well. And if you're putting a Broodlord in, which you probably should be, they're going to have the Devastating Wounds ability. So you're pretty much bypassing the armor save or the invuln saves. It goes down to mortal wounds then. Unless there's a feel no pain save against mortal wounds, then it's just going to go straight through the damage. Now these guys have a 5+ invulnerable save, so they're pretty resilient-ish. But I also quite like the fact that when you combine this with the hyper adaptation ability, you could all of a sudden be getting sustain hits as well, or precision strikes. Now the thing you don't want to be doing is you don't want to be giving them lethal hits, because if you've got lethal hits as well as devastating wounds, those lethal hits could bypass the wound roll, so therefore you're not getting to roll for your devastating wounds, if that makes sense. So that's not a strategy to use, but I wanted to give them an honourable mention. I mean, there's still more honourable mentions that I could have added. I mean, I've got Termagants, I think they're good and cheap. The Swarm Lord maybe. But let's move on to my number one before giving it all away. And I've gone with the Hive Tyrant. Now, the Hive Tyrant in 9th edition was pretty epic. And in 10th edition, I still think he's pretty epic. He's very good value. 220 points for virtually a monster with an invuln save. Toughness 8, wounds 10, 2+ armor. 4+ invuln as mentioned. Synapse, Shadow in the Warp, all that kind of stuff. But what I like the most is Will of the Hive Mind. So a unit within 12 inches can basically use a stratagem for 0 command points, even if that stratagem has already been used in that phase. Now, I like that. I mean, the Necrons have that, but it's got to be for, say, an Overlord model within a unit, so you can use it on that unit. Whereas the Tyranids have an option of throwing it out to another unit within 12 inches, which I think is really good. But any way to get hold or retain CP, if you like, any way to do that I think is really critical for 10th edition, because you don't start with CP and you're spending it all the time, so you've never got CP, and when you need that CP reroll or something and you just haven't got any left, this thing comes in handy, and it's every single turn as well. Now he's also got an aura to give the assault keyword to units within 6, yeah, that's not too bad. And don't forget as well the fact that you can customise the Hive Tyrant with the weaponry. You've got the heavy venom cannons, the strangleform cannons, all the melee weapons, they're all pretty decent. And the enhancements as well. This is why I put him over the Swarm Lord. I like the Swarm Lord's ability, or abilities, but the fact that you can put an enhancement on a Hive Tyrant, because it's not an epic hero, means you can get the adaptive biology enhancement, which is a 5+ feel no pain save. So having, you know, a 4+ invulnerable save, well, 2+ armor save, a 4+ invuln save, a 5+ feel no pain save, then you can get Tyrant Guard on top of that to be the bodyguard unit. There's just so much you can do with a Hive Tyrant, so that is definitely my number one pick. So guys, that is my that's my top 5. Let me know your top 5, and don't forget to subscribe on your exits. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one.